Hello everyone and welcome back to Lisa Horton Crafts. Dawn with you here, and today we're going to be making this paper pieced card. This is the lily and the rose, and I made one in sort of shades of purple, sort of all one colour, and this one I decided to sort of go a little bit different, and today I'm going to do two colours just to show you how different they can look. So before we get onto the card, let me just run through what I'm going to be using today. So the main part of the card basically is the large framed Oriental lily, and obviously the lily is the main attraction, but there are also two roses on there. I'm also using the Frame It stamp and die set, and then I'm also using one of the stitched squares from the Nested Stitch Bubble Squares die set. Okay, so let's make a start. So you'll see that I've made my frame and I've framed my picture. I've made it on an 8x8 card, but if you wanted to do a 7x7, it will fit on a 7x7. So in order to make a start on a card, you're going to need your card blank, and you can see here that I've already cut the die in black card, and I've used the actual large framed flower and the smaller of the two cutting frames. This will cut it out of your card. If you just use this one, it'll cut it into your card and leave it in your card. If you want it to cut out like this one is, then you need to use the frame around the edge. Okay, I cut mine both together. You can cut them separately if you wish, but I find that if I put them face down on my card and then through my machine and tape them down, they do stay and they give me an even frame all the way around. Now I want to put this onto a backing piece of card, and for this mat here I have used the second largest just ordinary stitched frame from the Nested Stitch Bubble Squares die set. The bigger one is just a little bit too big, but by using this one, what I found was if I used the stitching around the edge, it gives me a guide to put my frame on afterwards, and I just thought that was an easy way of making sure that your frame is in the right place. So I've already matted this onto a piece of cream card. I've used the same square to cut out the backing die as I used to cut out the main large framed flower, and I've already stuck it down because it's a bit fiddly, but I wanted to make sure that all the middle bits were stuck down properly so that when I come to piece my paper in, it sits right. So I want to place this on my larger mat. Now I'm only eyeballing it, but I'm going to try and get it as square as I can so that my frame fits around the edge properly. So aim for as central as you possibly can without measuring. The beauty of the wet glue is it does give you a little bit of time to manipulate your frame so that it's actually where you want it to be. I think that's pretty central. I'm also going to put it down onto the card. So I'll put that down, make sure it's square, which I think it is. Okay, now then, paper piecing. Obviously you've got to cut the flower out of different coloured cards twice. Now I've already done that because it's a little bit fiddly. Now I've run this through my machine, and as you can see it's die cut beautifully. To take it out of the die so that you try and keep as many of the pieces in one place as you can, what I would say is when you take it off your plate, make sure it's face down on a piece of paper, and then you can take the piece of paper and the whole of the die with the die cut still in place and flip it over so that it is now facing the right way. Now you can see where your pieces are going to go. It just makes it a little bit easier. So for the roses, I'm using the darker colour here, and for the lily, I'm using a pale yellow. Now what I would suggest is the rest of the pieces that you're not going to use, hang on to, because they're going to come in useful at a later date when you want to do another bit of paper piecing, and it'll save you cutting out and wasting another bit of card. So I'm going to do the lily first, primarily because it's a little bit bigger and a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to paper piece these in here. So that's the lily all done. Now that was really quick, wasn't it? I'm going to put these pieces to one side, and I will take all these pieces out of this frame and I will keep them. I'm also keeping the frame because not only can I use it for paper piecing later, I could also use it as a stencil. So they will always come in useful. So don't throw anything away. Now then, this is going to be a little bit more involved because obviously there are more petals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add all my petals in while you listen to a lovely little piece of music. So you can see really how quick that was. I know it's a little bit fiddly sometimes, but I do think it's well worth the effort. So now I'm just going to add the frame. Now I've already cut my pieces, so I've cut the main piece and then the stitched piece that goes on top. So there are, as the packet shows you, two different die sets, and these give you the sort of the mat, and then this gives you the layer with the stitching on the top, and I just think that stitching really finishes it off. And I've used one of these beautiful little sentiments which, as you can see, fit superbly well. And I've used the lots of love on your special day. I've used the same sentiment on every piece of the frame. Now you'll see if I put this frame on here and just line it up along with the stitching on the bigger mat here, that this will fit really quite neatly onto my card. It saves all the measuring, all the guessing, and I just think it's a really clever way of adding your frame and making sure that it's in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all those into place. There we go. Now you can see that didn't really take me very long at all, did it? I know the film is speeded up for you, but you can see how easy that was because I'd got a guide of where to put my frame. It didn't really take me any time at all. You'll also notice that I've 3D'd these. I don't know whether you can see that. I've used little 3D pads just to lift the frame up a little bit, and just think it lifts the card. Now I could have paper pieced the leaves, but to be honest I didn't really want to. What I wanted to do was use the fabulous ink gel pens that Lisa's recently bought out. Now these pens are beautiful because once I've put my ink on here, I can go over the top of this with a sparkle pen or a water brush and just smooth out any of those, those ink gel lines that you get with normal ink gel pens. You won't get any of that with these pens. These are beautiful pens to use. they don't really need much blending if you're just using them on a small area like this. But I just felt that by adding the sparkle on the top, it smoothed out any little lines that there might have been there, and it just added a little bit of sparkle to the leaves as well. So it's a quick way of doing your leaves without paper piecing, although if you wanted to, of course, you could cut your die out again in green card. You don't even have to do all the die. If you just wanted to put a piece of green card in the corner just to cut your leaves out, then of course you could do that as well. That'll save your card. If you don't want to, you know, waste your card stock, you could do that, and you could paper piece your leaves as well. But I just didn't want to. You'll see on my original card, if I can find it, I've used gold on my leaves, and I don't know whether you can see the sparkle, but I have used a sparkle pen on the top just to give it a little bit of a lift really. But the ink flow on these pens is superb. So I just finished these leaves off, and then I'm just going to add my sparkle pen on the top, and what that will do is not only add the sparkle, but it will just move the ink in places where possibly I've missed a little bit, and just smooth out any lines. So I'm just going to add my sparkle on here. So you can see that's a really quick and easy card to do. Yes, it's a little bit fiddly with your die cutting and your paper piecing, but I really think it's worth the effort, because I just think that is a beautiful looking card that anybody would be happy to receive. So I hope you like that. As you can see, it looks quite different to the other one. In fact, I think it looks smaller. It isn't, it's the same size. So I'll leave that there with you today. Thank you very much for joining me. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the little notification bell so that you won't miss any new content that comes up on the channel. Thanks very much for watching today. Bye for now.